Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Hive. Today we get a chance to share the results of taking our hive weights over the last summer. You may have heard us talking about taking hive weights in a few of our videos last year. It was easy to do using the Hivetronic scale, a Bluetooth connected weighing device designed for this purpose. It can pick up an entire beehive and all of its boxes even during peak honey flow. The scale sends the information to a connected phone, which we then record in the field log. There were a few things we wanted to learn through these numbers. How do splits affect honey production? Are the bees taking in the feed they need throughout the fall? How do the facts we learned through these numbers affect our beekeeping plans for 2026? We will share our experiences in this episode of Behind the Hive. In order to use the scale, we built a special base for the hives to sit on, and we moved the hives to sit on these bases when we were doing our set-down splits. These bases gave us the ability to slide the scale in underneath the hives. When we lift each hive, we would check the edges to make sure it was lifted clean off the support frame and got our numbers. As you can see, it is a non-invasive assessment tool. Usually you would light the smoker, but you don't have to. So here's what we learned from our splits. When we vertically split a hive, as described in our Behind the Hive log number 5, the original queen and her field force, now this is what I call the mother hive, are still oriented to the entrance, which is down at the hive stand. And we are splitting this to make a new hive with a new queen, which I call the daughter hive, which is set up on top of the mother hive on its own bottom board. No special equipment required, it's simply on its own bottom board. We kept track of the mother-daughter pairing by ripping a playing card in half and stapled one half to each hive. When it comes time to drop the daughter hive onto the hive stand, we move the mother hive off to another spot in the same yard. Because we are keeping both the mother and daughter hives in the same yard, it allowed the daughter hives to gain all the field force once the bees started foraging. This optimizes the crop, which is gathered into the daughter hives. Now, looking at this data slide, we can see the daughters put up an average of 107.57 pounds per hive, going from July 7th to September 5th. The peak weight was actually 2 weeks earlier at 108.36 pounds. This is good information to have for management decisions going forward. But we note the mothers had a depleted field force, and as we can see from our weights, had a much lower honey production. As with the daughter hives, weight gain peaked about August 20th, and it was at 18.13 pounds per hive, approximately 1/6 of what the daughter hive gained. By the end of the year, together, mother and daughter hives had peaked at approximately 127 pounds. You might be wondering what is the best use of the mother hives if we can't count on them for bringing in a honey crop. For maximizing return on our efforts, we have at least 4 options on what to do with them. For the first one, we can simply super them on their new sites and hope for a later honey flow. This is what we did in this situation in 2025. This is the least invasive option and gives us a great foundation for our weight taking process. Something else you can do, a second option, is it's a good time to replace old queens. It's easier to find the queens once the field force has left the colony and joined the daughter hive. Considering the timing of the year, and it takes 3 weeks to raise a baby bee, and then a couple weeks as a house bee, and then finally their final stage of life being a field bee, by first week of July, all the eggs that will be laid that will contribute to the honey crop have been laid. So replace the queen at this time with a cell makes good sense. After a queen cell is installed, add honey supers. Based on the data, the honey production will still be lower than the high field force daughter, but there will be a healthy and productive colony for the next season with the new young queen. The third option you could consider is taking the brood and nurse bees that are there with the mother hive and making splits. So a couple frames of brood, frame of honey, the nurse bees split evenly. You can get 2 to 3 nukes out of each mother hive. This can be used to increase your hive numbers, to make up winter losses, or for investment, you can sell them in the spring. The weather is good through July, and at this time there's lots of drones available for mating. With this choice, we're deciding that this is not a honey hive, but a livestock reproduction hive, the value to be seen in the coming year. And finally, as a fourth option, we can raid the mother hive for cap brood to add to the drop-down daughter hive, to ensure the field force of the primary honey-producing hive is being replenished throughout the honey flow. As you can see from the data gathered last year, the hive weights show that there are a lot of benefits to building strong splits in May and giving new generation of bee colonies a fantastic start to the honey production. Of course, so many things affect the honey flow: weather, location, and timing of your beekeeping practices, and many other things. But here is one tool that we can use to take some of the guesswork out. So there's lots of different ways to keep an eye on your honeybee's health. We like non-invasive methods, but how do you keep an eye on your honeybee's health? And what would you hope to learn through weighing them? Next time, we'll talk about feeding methods and what we've learned about how the honeybees take up their feed through open source feeding. Thanks for watching this episode of Behind the Hive. Catch you in the next one.